and welcome along to the brand new season from this FM20 Build a Nation series, Climbing with Cliftonville, with me, Daniel. It's part 33 and today we're back for our transfer special, but we've also got a lot of developments off the field to update you on, which is why we're starting on this screen here. We're also avoiding spoilers for the transfers, of course, and we've got a result to reflect on as we played our first qualifier in the Champions League. And much like a couple of years ago with the preliminary round, we're now able to skip it, which shows how far we've come. We'll also take a look at the European coefficients, and of course, we will get into our transfers, our staff changes, and mainly our player changes, as we try to upgrade again for the forthcoming season. Although there are a couple of old players that we have missed out on. So if you're looking forward to all of that and you are still enjoying the series, please do chuck a big thumbs up on the video. Subscribe down below for daily FM20 content from this long-term story with Cliftonville. There's weekly live streams every Tuesday morning at 10 AM. And FM21 news is starting next week. There'll be an announcement on the community page. There'll be some teasers on there. You can follow me on Twitter and we'll have a Discord server starting so you can keep up to date with all of that. But I'm really grateful for your support and I hope you're looking forward to the new game as much as I am. But let's get back to Cliftonville. We've got a lot of transfers to talk about, but we needed to start here. Now, we all knew that there was an upgrade to Solitude coming, which for our last season, we're thinking probably the season after this will be great. Maybe we can squeeze a third in, but let's play safe for now. We're expanding Solitude by 3,112 seats. Now, this is crucial because then it meets the capacity to have the minimum seating required for European games. So no more trotting along to Windsor Park. We can make Solitude a fortress. Although we didn't do bad at Windsor Park, to be fair. So when we move back, it will be a 9,336 capacity stadium, which is fantastic. And that will happen in March. However, in the meantime, we've decided that instead of going to Windsor Park, instead of going to share with one of our Premiership clubs, we are going to H&W Welders, Tillysburn Park, 3,000 capacity, 100 seated. Who decided that when we're growing this quickly, that was a good idea? It's a massive pitch in comparison to what we have, which I'm really worried about. So I've got a feeling this might be a slightly harder season, and we've had to try and go a bit younger in the squad, purely because of the pitch size. We are getting training facilities and youth facility upgrades. Don't forget at the moment our training ones are shared with Queen's University, our feeder club. So we'll get rid of those the day before the upgrades complete and then move back into our own. The youth facilities are good, everything else is exceptional. So fingers crossed that means positive news. If we go and have a look at the club vision, the training and youth facilities will be done in November, the stadium in March of course. We've also had an increased junior coaching budget. We have now turned professional for the very first time. And the affiliate club, we managed to get in Queen's University. We're trying to get another from the Premiership now, but I'm not sure it will happen. Finally, the scouting range has been increased too. So that now covers all of Europe and gives us a chance to get in more quality players. So fingers crossed that will happen soon. You can see a couple of little teasers of names there. Most of them won't mean much to you. But as we do that, let's go and look at the staff and then the transfers. So in terms of staff, we haven't done a huge amount. We had a couple join just before the end of last season. So if we have a look, Michael Duff as the reserves manager, a model professional, a really good personality to bring in. We mentioned about Steve Ball coming in as McAllister joined Ballymena as manager. But the one we've done this summer is Terry McFlynn, a new head of youth development. And he is a top quality man. 13 for judging ability and potential, 18 working with youngsters, determined personality, very good coach, very strong mentally. The perfect sort of man we want here, and one who hopefully will turn these intakes into something special for this year and next. We'll wait and see if that's the case. As it is, that means Mark Smith's just the under 18 manager. We're trying to replace him as well, but otherwise a fairly settled coaching team and a few additions to try and bring a bit of gold dust to it. So let's head along to the transfer screen. That is the most important one today. We've still got a little bit of potential news coming in. You can see the under-18s manager there. Shane Ferguson we're thinking about. Just depends if we get the big offer for Cal Naismith or not. But we have sold a couple of players big. So let's go and have a look. The transfer history for this season, not quite as eventful as you'd expect, but big money out and big names in. Let's just go and have a look at the released players in case. Of course, they're all first teamers this time. Cahill and Kadira we knew were retiring. Ben Anik has moved on. He wanted £1,000 a week, double his wage to be the third choice keeper. Not happening. Regan Donnellan, definitely the flop of the series. And Aaron Donnelly on a free. Looks like he's off to Ballymena, so we'll wait and see if that happens. Wonder if Ben Anik's got a club. Not at all. Regan Donolan? Not at all. No surprises there. But let's have a look at the transfers. We'll start with the outs. We did hint to it in the cup final last year. Henry Lansbury is on his way. He's gone to Cheltenham. 43,000 up front, rising to 52. He's managed to up his wage. He'll be delighted with that. Basically double what he was on here. He's 31 now. He's just declining physically and quite quickly as well. So we're pleased to get him off the books. But he was a really good servant last year. He was so crucial, particularly in Europe. He scored 4 goals in continental competitions, 5 assists. Similar in the cups, really. The league, he didn't play a huge amount because he was largely the first choice. And the backup team played most of the league games. But I'm really pleased with that one. And he had a great year for us. So fair play to him. Perennial underperformers Lyons, after a 10th place finish, have stuck with Stephen Baxter. And they've only made one big signing this summer. But it is Brad Lyons from us. So our backup midfielder at 25. He wasn't really getting a game. We had Sammy Wilson coming back from loan at 18. And he's probably not a million miles away. So we've decided to go for the homegrown player at the club, the under-21 who doesn't need to be in the European squad. And that means that Brad Lyons moves on. So he's gone to Lyons as an important player on a 3-year deal. And he's a good midfielder. So at this level, certainly a step up for our opponents. Although Lyons probably been a bit disappointing in this window. Only Lyons coming in, Connor Mitchell being released to us, which we'll get to in a minute. And then a few others on free agent and loan deals. So I'm waiting for the spark because the coefficient's gone up for the nation. The reputation of the league's gone up slightly. And nothing's happened. It really does worry me. Ethan Galbraith, after flirting with it for a year, has gone off to Cardiff now. £600,000 for him. Don't forget, he was a backup midfielder for us and still would have been this year. He would have been 4th choice. So to get over $500,000 from Cardiff's incredible. Lyons couldn't compete. They didn't put any interest in for him. If they had, a bit like Lyons, we would have accepted Lyons' offer and rejected the non-Northern Irish ones. But it wasn't to be. The only clubs that came in were Watford and Cardiff. And as a Luton fan, Cardiff would be my first choice, and Cardiff offered more money. So Galbraith has gone to them. But a really good servant for us. 57 league appearances, plenty of others in the cups as well. And in Europe, he did struggle a bit in terms of rating, which probably suggests he's not quite good enough for that level. Bryn Morris was the other one. He spent the second half of last year on loan at St Johnstone, and he's now gone to Barnsley for $400,000. So he only actually played 9 league games for us, made 10 appearances in cups as well. He was coming in as a 3rd or 4th choice. Because of the European allocation, he couldn't play in Europe, but he still did a decent job. And after half a year out on loan, we sold him for $400,000. So another 1.1 million in just for those 4 backup players. Pretty incredible, really. A whole central midfield from last year by Matthew Smith, and it's moved on from the club. So you of course know that some of these guys are going to be central midfielders. There's a couple of familiar names as well. In fact, a key one in Rashawn Murphy. A few others have stayed on as well. So firstly, Connor Mitchell from Lyons. He was being released on a free by Lyons. He was their first choice keeper, but they had him down as a backup and on a transfer list. He's a decent keeper. He's better than Ben Anik was, just. And he's much better than Connor Devlin, and he's earning less than Anik. So to have him there as a former under-21 international, as our backup goalkeeper, on a fairly modest wage, I think that's a good deal. So 2 years for him, and he'll be here as understudy to Gavin Bazunu. Tom Lindley was the other domestic transfer, so he was on the verge of joining Forest Green, and you know we said we'd only intervene with these youngsters if they were going to leave the country. So Tom Lindley we signed from Dungannon. The problem is, he wouldn't go back there on loan, so we had to get a permanent deal the other way. And as a result, we're now trying to get him out of the club somewhere, but it doesn't look great at the moment. So we'll cross our fingers and hope we're able to do that. But Tom Lindley has joined the club. He played in 1 European match already. He's a decent player, but he's not going to be near the first team this year. We'll see why in a moment. Rashawn Murphy has rejoined the club, already scored 2 in 2 qualifiers for the Champions League, 1 assist as well, a top quality striker. He's got his old partner in crime from last year, and there is plenty to be excited about up front. Murphy at the ready again, 40 league goals in 66 appearances, which sounds impressive, but he scored 15 in the Cups and 7 in Europe last year, and 8 in the Cups the year before. So he's got more to his game than that. McLaughlin was a permanent signing. We did make a sort of concerted effort this year to make as much of our backup team permanent as possible. We knew that we were going to rely on loanees for the first team, particularly just turning professional. A lot of people wanted huge money that we couldn't afford, but McLaughlin was one of those we could bring in. So a squad player, a centre-half, less than £1,000 a week again. We have had to increase our wage structure slightly, but we're still trying to keep the permanent ones down. So 950 quid is good for us. 3-star ability, 3-star potential. Really close to shot on, in truth. Not a much between them. Played in the 2 Champions League games, the first qualifier. Did a really good job. 7.9 rating. And look how good we were. I mean, he's a really solid player. I'm pleased to get him in. Played for Forest Green, played for Hull, played for Motherwell on loan. And he started in Ireland with Cork City. So we know he's got plenty of experience. And he's going to be a good addition to this squad. The other 3 agent deal, we were looking at loads of central midfielders. But instead, we got Jake Kane. So a little bit earlier in his development, just 20 years of age and on 1.4 thousand a week. He's got 3-star ability, 4.5 potential. But he's got that natural fitness, he's got a decent determination, his personality's okay. He likes to get forward, likes to get on the ball, and I feel like he could be a star for this club. So he's going to be involved in and around the team this year. Played in 1 Champions League qualifier, on the bench for the other, and he'll probably be the lead of that backup team. So lots of league games, lots of quality there. A left-footed centre midfielder, and I'm quite excited about him. We'll definitely make a profit on him. And then onto the loans to bolster the squad. So these guys are essentially the ones replacing the players we couldn't get back from last year. So Finlay Robinson is in as replacing the central midfielders because we couldn't get a permanent deal done. Harvey Elliott is replacing Jack Clark. Sirkin is replacing Burke and Mitchell. We tried to get Burke back, it didn't work. And Sean McDonald is replacing Nathan Wood. So let's have a look at these 4 in order. Finlay Robinson from Southampton, 4.5-star ability central midfielder, 5-star potential. Superb player, comfortable box to box, which is what we needed, and just really solid across the board. £2,000 a week in wage contributions. Southampton actually paid over £5 million to get him from Dundee, and he played 12 games for them in the Championship, and then 15 games, mostly off the bench, in the Premier League last season. So that's a really good sign for us. They stayed up as well, so he can't have done that badly. But he's a player with nearly 30 games experience in England at the age of 19. He must be some talent, and we're going to try and develop him more this year. I feel like he's going to be a star. He did score on his debut, and he was man of the match as well. So plenty bodes well for the future there. On to Harvey Elliott, a name that's known quite well across English football. He's had a few misdemeanours early in his career, but he's a very highly rated young prospect. Went from Fulham to Liverpool. In this save, he's had 40 appearances out at Bristol Rovers. I wonder if he's played any cup games for Liverpool. He hasn't actually, so he's going to be making a big debut here for us. He's played 1 Champions League game and did pretty well despite not being fit. And he's very good. 3.5-star ability, 5-star potential. It will see the slight tactical change and the return to the inside forward like we had with Dylan McCanday. But otherwise, he's pretty similar. The only thing that worries me is his natural fitness and stamina. It's the same we had with Nico Williams last year, but it did improve. So with us being professional, I'm hoping that will happen. For Jack Clark, though, he didn't want to rejoin. We're having a look. He wasn't even loan listed. Let's have a look at Ryan Burke as well, because he's another one we thought about bringing back. But he's now been listed as a regular starter for Birmingham. So I'm not quite sure what's caused that. They're still in the Championship. I'd wondered if it had gone down or something. But they won't sell him. They asked for about $5.5 million, and I'm not paying that. So instead of him and Tyrick Mitchell, who did disappoint a little bit, we bought in Dennis Sirkin. And I would argue he's probably better than Burke and definitely better than Mitchell. Don't forget we've got young Mark Lyons, who we bought in from Institute as well, who will be perfectly adequate for the league games. And for the Champions League and Europa League and probably Europa Conference, Dennis Sirkin is the new left-back. 3.5-star ability, 5-star potential, a natural wing-back and full-back. He's just really solid. He's a quality player. He started off at Tottenham. He's come on loan from them, but he's had seasons with Tranmere in League One, Sheffield Wednesday in the Championship and Rotherham in the Championship, and done really well at that level. So a Championship player coming in, that is soon to bolster our squad. He's registered for the game we'll be seeing tomorrow in the second qualifying round of the Champions League. And I really fancy him to make an impact here. He looks like the best fullback we've ever had. And finally, probably the position, a bit like Harvey Elliott, where we didn't get an upgrade, but we limited the damage. We had Nathan Wood last year, who was brilliant, but now we've got Sean McDonald, an 18-year-old from Liverpool. Very similar stats profile, just not quite as quick. But he's really solid mentally for a young player, resolute personality, 2-footed, which is pretty impressive as well. So we've got 2 left-footed centre-halves and one that's either-footed. Only Ben Hall with the right-hand side. But otherwise, tackling good, marking good. Not great directing the headers, but strong in the air. And he'll get stronger as he gets older. His body fills out and he gets a bit tougher, a bit roughened up. He has played a few games already, one for Liverpool in the Premier League, as well as 5 Cup and European matches, and in for Brighton 5 league games, as well as a couple of internationals as well. So he's playing for Scotland, 2 caps at 18 years of age. He's a super player. So none of them on more than £2,500 a week for the loanees, no permanent player on more than 1.5, and we've got a very good squad. Adam Idart stayed. We knew that Middleton was staying. We knew that Williams was staying. Bazunu signed on late on last season, and Saul Shotton is still there. So a very good squad, a very good budget. The only thing that might be changing is Cal Naismith has interest, and he might be replaced, if all goes to plan, with Shane Ferguson. If not, we've got the likes of Noah Daly interested in him. We've got Sammy Wilson, who's still wanted by top tier clubs. But they're quality youngsters, these players. If we put you in reports order, it's a little bit deceiving really. Sammy Wilson's rated 1.5 star, but if we have a look at him, he's a very good Northern Irish Premier League player. He's a quality prospect at 18 years of age, had a good season at Warren Point last year. I know it was the Danske Bank Premiership and they didn't do a great job there, they went down in the end, but he got good football under his belt and he did well for them. So it's good to have him back. Stephen Thompson's improving. He is the only one of the youngsters though that hasn't signed a professional deal yet. He keeps rejecting them and he still is. Noah Daly has now signed one. He is going to be a prospect for us. He's still improving and he's got a little bit left in the tank. And Connor Crawford's the main one. 2.5 ability, 4-star potential. Just slightly improving now. Can't get that unambitious personality up. Even Kadira and Cahill couldn't do it. But he's some prospect and he's some goal scorer. So we're looking forward to seeing what he does this year. Of course, Tom Lindley will be trying a loan out. Connor Devlin has stayed as third choice goalkeeper. That's because of Anik leaving. And young Mark Lyons is back from his loan spell and he looks a good fullback as well. So our backup team may be slightly weaker, but it is a lot younger and there's a lot more players who have of course come through and qualified as homegrown for the club or homegrown in the country. So that's something we can be proud of. The first team is still largely loan players and it probably would be up to the end of season 5. So we're going to keep that as it is for now and we're just going to try and improve this squad as we go into the summer and as we go into the new season. The good news, however, if we have a look at the schedule, is we won our first qualifying round of the Champions League. We were seeded, we'll take a look at the coefficient in a minute, and it was against FCI Levadia of Estonia, a 2-star reputation side that had one real player, but he was a youngster in the 18s, 19 years of age, and he's not very good. So that shows you exactly why we dominated that. We won 3-0 in the home leg, a Hepburn Murphy brace and Adam Idar causing a trouble, and then 5-0 on the road second time out. 2 for Idar, an own goal, Robertson on his debut, and Glenn Middleton after coming back from injury. It was a really good display, 8-0 on aggregate, and that sets us through to face Norwegian champions Molde. Now they've got Jordan Much here, who's a very good player. He's probably as good as any of our midfielders, quite a similar profile to Finlay Robinson actually. So he's someone we'd have to keep an eye on. But the rest of their greyed out players, although good, in fact I'll take that back, they're good and they're probably nearly as good as ours. There's some areas they're a bit weaker. And I think the balance of attributes, with rather than them having standouts, everything being 11 or 12, is where the problem comes. But they're a good side, so it might be a bit of a test for us this. After last season, we'd probably expect to get through, but I think looking at that, Molde's team are better than most of those we played. Of course, if we get to the third qualifying round of the Champions League, we're guaranteed group stage football, even if we drop into the Europa League and then the Conference. If we drop out at this stage, we'd need to win one of the playoffs in the other competitions. So as we said last season, group stage football is not yet secured. We don't know that we're going to do it every year, and we're probably not going to reach another semi-final, so let's temper that expectation now. But that Molde game will be shown next time out. Let's very quickly finish with the European coefficient. Not something that's normally an exciting topic, but it is this season. The reason being the nation club coefficients for Northern Ireland are up to 33rd, because next season we're getting a bit of a boost, which is good to see. In terms of club coefficients, we have broken into the top 100. Cliftonville are listed in 85th place. 17 was our coefficient last season. To put it into perspective, that's the same as Manchester United, because the coefficient for the Champions League, Europa League and the Europa Conference per round is still near enough the same. So you don't actually end up losing much for being in a lesser competition, which is why countries like Spain, where they prioritise the Europa League so much, they normally stay above England in the coefficient, whereas we don't really prioritise that competition so much. So the coefficient of 20 for this season and 20 for next season will hopefully really bolster us up. And that means we've been seeded for the first qualifying round. And it's made such a difference here. So I'm hoping that will remain the case. In terms of competitions for the league, the Northern Irish Premiership, although still rated 1.5 star, has gone up 10 places in the coefficient. So if we can just sneak it up to 2 star, it would take us up another 10 or so. And that's what we're looking for. To be level with League 2 would be fantastic. So hopefully that will come in time. But finally, I want to finish on the transfer window. We mentioned that Lyons had a quiet one, aside from signing one of our stars. And unfortunately, a lot of the others have done the same. Linfield have signed quite poorly, I would say, so far. Glentoran probably the most ambitious. They've been signing quite a few players on frees, but experienced players with quality. So Michael O'Connor, he's a 34-year-old. I think he's gone to Crusaders in real life, if I remember rightly. It was one of the Northern Irish clubs, so he is in the Premiership this year. Darren Noonan has joined them, a bit younger, not quite as good, but a solid squad player. Callum Morris to Crusaders, as well as Kevin Coughlin on loan. They're both decent signings. Glentoran have signed a backup player there. They've signed James Black from Glenarvan, and a young player with a bit of quality. Lee Lynch to Crusaders, another solid pro. So we are just sort of relying, as it stands, on Larne actually reaching their potential this year. Ballymena have signed Nathan Kerr, who's a good young right back. But there's not a huge amount of quality signings, which given the rise in reputation, given the rise in finances, really is worrying me a little bit. So we'll keep an eye on that as the window goes on. Linfield star signing has been Johnny McMurray, who was released from Larne. And Larne's key signing has been Brad Lyons, the only one they've bought in from us. So we'll keep an eye on that over the summer. We will be back though for the Champions League second qualifying round. The European dream starts again, and we will be playing against Mulder. If we get through over 2 legs, we're guaranteed Europa Conference football, even if we lose the rest of our qualifiers. So getting into the Europa League group stages might not happen again. That was a one-off miracle, but we've got to make sure we get into that Europa Conference. Keep those points going and keep ourselves moving forward and Northern Irish football moving forward. It's our first try at a Build a Nation series on camera. It's going very well, and we've got another one coming next year, so we want to get as confident as possible. So if you're looking forward to that one and you did enjoy this transfer special, please do put a thumbs up on the video. I'll finish on the squad screen to remind you of the quality, and I'll put them in ability order for you so you can see. If you want to stay up to date with this season and this series, as well as all of the upcoming FM21 content, please do subscribe down below and turn that notification bell on. You'll get alerts as daily content releases on the channel, and hopefully you'll continue to enjoy it as much as I am. Fingers crossed we can have another special European run. Finally, you can check out our podcast channel in the eye above. It is the eve of the new Irish Premiership season in real life, and you can see our predictions video over on the channel. We've gone through a team-by-team guide, all of their summer transfer business, and where we think each team's going to finish this season. So please do go and check that one out. We put a lot of work into it, and it seems to have gone down really well. So thank you for your support. But a big thanks for watching this one. Your continued support with this series and the channel in general. I really do appreciate it. And I hope to see you next time as we start that Champions League dream again. It is Cliftonville v Mulder, and it'll be live on the channel. I hope to see you there.